when I am down, and oh, my soul so weary, when trouble come and my heart burden be, then I am still as I wait here in the silence. Oh, Spirit, come and pray a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas, and I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to all that I can be. There's no life without its hunger, and a restless heart beats so impatiently. And then you come, and I am filled with wonder, and so I think I see eternity. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. Oh, Spirit, raise me up to walk on stormy seas, and I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to all that I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas, and I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas, and I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to all that I can be. You raise me up to all that I can be.
Mr. James Higgins. Wow, wow. Oh my goodness gracious, that was fabulous. Hey James, welcome. Good having you here, always. Nice to have you here. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. I want to give a special shout out to our friends who are watching us in the virtual world, especially Bob and Marilyn Halder. I know they're a little under the weather, so we're just sending you love and good vibes, and just nice to have you guys with us. Also, hello to our friends up in Oregon, especially Ollie and his parents, Howard and Sherry. Good to have you guys with us as well. And you guys, it's just so much nicer when you're here. It just is. And today is the first day of October. Isn't that remarkable? Yeah, we even have October weather. It's fabulous. So a couple things just as announcements before we get going here. One is Your board president, Steve Burns, and I were having a conversation over a couple glasses of wine. And one of the things that was really apparent to us is that transparency is such an important value for a spiritual community. And what that looks like for the first step is that we begin having open board meetings again. We sort of had to go on hiatus during the pandemic, and then we just got comfortable plotting in secret. So we're going to be having board meetings the second Sunday of the month after service, which, by the way, is next Sunday, and it's just better if you are there. So please make an effort to show the board meetings are open, and we'd love to have input and insight and all that looks like. So after service, about 10 or 15 minutes after service, we'll have it. We'll also be available. We'll also be able to invite in those people virtually as well. So that will be in the Emerson room a little bit after service, starting next Sunday. So that's happening. Also, we got some classes coming down the line. I'm going to be starting a class in January, New Thought for the 21st Century. I'm very excited to be teaching. And, after talking to friends of mine, colleagues in the field, what we've looked at doing, and I think we'll start doing, is we'll do probably Tuesday nights via Zoom for those who want to stay home in their Snuggies. And then for those who want a live experience, a live class will be on Wednesday. But not to do the hybrid because it's just, there are different kinds of experiences. A Zoom experience can be deep and intimate and fun and loving and insightful, and a live one too, but it just seems trying to combine the two sometimes is a little awkward. So the experiment starting in January is if you want to be in a live class and what that experience looks like, those will be on Wednesdays, and the Zoom classes will be on Tuesdays. Let's see, anything else to know? I think that's enough for the day. How you doing, Craig?
Oh, good. So happy to be here. Thank you.
I'm always thrilled when you're here because we get to be cultivated and cultured. We have James giving us insightful music, and we have you reciting incredible poetry, and then of course I will be doing an interpretive dance. So we're scared you, didn't I? That was fun. Okay. So with that, why don't you give us a semblance of a church here, or a spiritual center, or whatever we are, whatever we do.
Thank you, Reverend Guy. Thank you, James.
My pleasure.
Just a thought about that song, because our theme for the year is the great work of our life. And I think this month is we can't be great alone, something like that, right? And I was thinking how that song addresses that when we know we need spirit, but we also need each other, and that's why we're here today. So thank you for that beautiful song. So yes, welcome to autumn. It's so beautiful. Welcome to the Hilltop Center, and absolutely honored to be with you. So let's just bless this space together with our consciousness, with a prayer. And just know that if you close your eyes, it's so easy to go inward. So if you like, do so. And it's also nice just to relax, perhaps with a nice inhalation, just bringing life in and just letting it out. And so there is one great presence right here and now, as it is everywhere, always. This divine life has many names. It's truly nameless. We call it God. It is a great life, a magnificent life. It is only good. And we are here by its grace. Its propensity is to give and give and give. This is a love that is creative. And so we are born out of this love. We are indeed a part of God. Despite what sometimes we may think, believe, feel, or do, we are inseparable from this divine essence. And we have been gifted with greatness, with purpose, with talents. And so we just recognize that as we come together, we do so because we are not great alone. It is in reflecting and recognizing the divinity in each other that we truly are great. So I'm just knowing then that this service today is a part of that unfolding as a community. The words of Reverend Guy, his love, his intelligence embodied in his talk and just his presence. The music and heart of James Higgins, and just this gathering together, how powerful and beautiful and great it is. And so we celebrate it, we give thanks for it, we call it forth, and so it is. And so it is, we have, today's reading is a poem from that 12th century Saint Francis of Assisi. And it goes like this. It was easy to love God in all that was beautiful. The lessons of a greater knowledge, though, instructed me to embrace God in all things. And so let's take a moment or three to contemplate this. You'll hear our bowl ring, just ringing in the consciousness within. And when you hear it a second time, it's simply inviting you back into this space. And so also, as St. Francis said, let us be instruments of divine peace. Bring your attention back. Thank you.
When God is all there is, you'll find peace within your heart. When God is all there is, you'll find peace within your heart. Surrender all of your doubt and your fears. Just let your mind be still. Fill your heart with grace and God's tender warm embrace. That's my prayer today, and so it is. When God is all there is, you'll find joy within your heart. When God is all there is, you'll find joy within your heart. Surrender all of your doubt and your fears. Let your mind be still. God's tender warm embrace. That's my prayer today, and so it is. When God is all there is, you'll find love within your heart. God is all there is. You'll find love within your heart. Surrender all of your doubt and your fear. God's tender warm embrace. I release this prayer today, and so it is. When God is all there is, I release this prayer today. When God is all there you'll find peace and love and joy within your heart. You'll find joy, you'll find peace within your heart. And God is all there is. When God is all there is. No, God is all there is.
Fabulous. Oh my. James, I could listen to you all day long. That was fabulous. And I find it kind of synchronistic, always, how several different things can always be telling us the same thing, right? Because we had this incredible poem from St. Francis of Assisi. And really what St. Francis is saying, what I heard, is this idea that we can find the divine in all creation. And then James's song or prayer is essentially saying the same thing, that divine presence can be found anywhere. So I've been contemplating this quote all week. It's from Søren Kierkegaard, and he says, the man of faith, and I'm not going to try to edit it down, just we'll leave it this, not man of faith, the knight of faith. And what he means by the knight of faith is like the chevalier, the knight, you know, the guy with armor and a sword. The knight of faith finds the sublime in the pedestrian. The knight of faith finds the sublime in the pedestrian. So I was visiting with Steve and Andrea this week, and I shared with them that quote, and they both looked at me like, "What are you? What?" But I think that song and that line from St. Francis are saying exactly it. That if we are faithful, if we are present, if we are aware, then wherever we are, whatever we're looking at, we can see the handiwork of that great artificer of the universe in all creation, in all things. So my talk title today is called Son of a Hunter. And it begins with two challenges that I have to find the divine in all things. And one of them is my desk, whether it be my desk here at the office or my desk at home. It amazes, it mystifies me that I can sit at my desk, and really when I sit at my desk, I may be writing, I may be reading, I may be answering phone calls or doing whatever I'm doing, but at the end of the day, it looks like a storm has passed over that little patch of the world, and that I have to clean it. It's like, what? I never moved. It was all right here, and then all of a sudden it's like, what happened? And the second thing is kind of similar to that. It's my relationship to time. I get up early in the morning, and with Rollo, the Viking dog, earlier than sometimes I anticipate. But generally I'm up 5-ish. And I love getting up early in the morning. I love that coolness and that transition of time from the night season to the day season. And I love being able to sit at my desk, that desk, and write and meditate and pray and do whatever I do. And so I'm up early. And it mystifies me that I am rushing out the door or hurrying to make my first appointment of the day. How can that possibly be? So here are these two things that are challenges for me and that I just have to be really mindful of. And you may be thinking to yourself right now, you may be aware of these things yourself right now, but you may be thinking to yourself, well, that is classic textbook or armchair ADD. Yes, I know, I am aware of that. And have grown up my whole life with that label, attention deficit disorder. A disorder, like there's something innately wrong with me. And I want to say, first of all, that what we know is that thoughts are causative and that stories illuminate everything. And whether it be a mental condition or an emotional condition, whether it be a problem that we are working on, whatever the case may be, it has a much greater probability of working out if there is hope. But if there is no hope, if there's a label that says, well, you're this, that's how it's going to be. I've shared this before. First grade, Sister Aquinas. Bless you, Sister Aquinas. First grade, Sister Aquinas talking to my mother and saying, Guy is very bright, but he's lazy. Because that's what it was. It was looked at as some kind of moral deficit or something innately wrong with somebody to be that way. And I've worked with that kind of my whole life. But here's the thing, and maybe you've experienced this too. You find something that all you have to do is pull the string a little bit and the whole bloody thing unravels. So something that I read years ago, but it was interesting as I was sort of trolling for this, scavenging for this talk. I find myself in very interesting places. And I found this website by this guy, Tom Hartman, who I really like. And the website is called Hunter in a Farmer's World. And his premise is this. So there are in the DSM-3 or 12 or whatever it is these days, but the diagnosis of attention deficit disorder is high distractibility, impulsive actions, and the constant need for stimulation. Am I distracted? Absolutely. Am I impulsive? Of course I am. And do I need stimulation? Yeah, my partner. I'm always looking and stirring, looking for something. And those are the classic symptoms of the disorder. But what if those same attributes were necessary and successful for someone else? Consider the hunter-gatherers. So for a hunter-gatherer, and if or even a predator for that matter, if you are in pursuit of, say, a rabbit or a small animal, and you're going after it, and then all of a sudden a deer is in your peripheral vision, it's important to be able to see that. There's a level of vigilance with distractibility that you're always paying attention to what's on the peripheral, because this is an asset. This is a good thing. And impulsive, just like that jackrabbit or whatever, being able to make a decision without sitting to think it through and doing a Venn diagram that says, well, let me see, I'm chasing a rabbit right now and I have a great probability to do this, but if I change direction to do that, you don't have time for that sort of thing. And stimulation. Well, yes. Consider a Viking. He's going to wake up in the morning and he's not going to say, oh, it's chilly outside. I think I'm just going to stay in and make myself a cup of tea. He's going to get up with, yes, This is a great day, and I am ready for an adventure. Now, 10,000 plus years ago, our culture as human beings completely changed when we began moving towards an agrarian society and agrarian cultures, which, by the way, those three things are detriments. Because if you are a farmer, you need to stay very focused on how things are. And farmers play a long game. They plant seeds in the fall, they tend in the spring, and they harvest in the summer. Farmers are not impulsive people. They are strategic. They are linear. And stimulation, well, if you've ever tended a garden, it's I'm saying this as a hunter, it's boring. It's not really boring, but it's tedious. It's the same kind of thing. There's not a lot of, there's beauty, there's this, but there's not a lot of stimulation. And so what happens is, as we create a culture 10,000 plus years ago, in which the qualities of a hunter-gatherer are not workable in a society that is based on agrarianism. Agrarianism is very linear. It's it's methodical. Hunter-gatherers are extremely spontaneous. They're two different kinds of things. About 1,000 years ago, the agrarian world gained dominance in that, and I was thinking specifically from Europe, it was at that time that the Vikings were being subdued, and the Celts were being subdued, and everything was under the auspices of a church that had anchored itself an empire and built its power in the agrarian world, was simply displacing everything else. It was unnecessary. It was detrimental. But what if they were wrong? You know, one of the things, I'm reading this book right now, it's called The History of Everything. And one of the premises of this book is that when we look back on the history of humanity, we don't know hardly anything. Anything. Consider the cave paintings in Lascaux, 40,000 years ago. These incredible paintings where people would climb into these caves and dance and do rituals. Or the caves of Altamira in Spain, where there are cave paintings that are, again, fascinating and beautiful and impressionistic. And then 5,000 years after, there's paintings going on. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, imagine this, that for tens of thousands of years, our ancestors had amazing cultures with art and dance and mysticism and ways of perceiving into the world that we know nothing about. Now, as I am speaking this, just notice yourself, and perhaps there's even a little bit of prejudice. Because when we think in terms of thousands and thousands of years ago, we have ideas of what they are, right? Either Fred Flintstone or, savages or, cave people or whatever the case may be, brutes. And a lot of that comes from, most of that comes from, early Enlightenment thinkers like Jacques Rousseau or Hobbes. And although they are both very different in their interpretation of history, they kind of arrive at the same thing. That either we were brutes with no culture until the birth of agriculture, and society as it is, or there was this naivete or innocence that we had, but that we didn't really fully evolve or advance until the birth of agriculture and empire. And how that frames how we approach the world. We have things like the doctrine of discovery. I'm not sure if you're aware what the doctrine of discovery, it was a early Enlightenment idea that basically said to the Europeans, if you go someplace else that is not your culture, i.e. Africa or the Americas, you have discovered something, and therefore all its riches are yours. In fact, it took an edict from the Pope to declare the indigenous peoples of the Americas and as Africas as human beings, and they needed to be treated justly. So we have this whole idea of how we see the world based on concepts that really don't hold water at the end of the day. And we all live at the consequences of these preconceived stories that we simply accept as is without any further investigation to see if they are true or not. And so, for myself, I don't have a disorder, but I have an ancestry of Vikings and warriors and gatherers and people who lived close to the earth and close to nature. And does it make it difficult to live in this world? Absolutely. I have to work harder. It's difficult for me to sit and to read and to study and to operate in a linear level. Just ask my partner or see how I run the church. But here's the deal, and here's, I guess, what I'm getting at, is I spent a good part of my life suffering because of a story. A story. But how about you? What stories were told to you? What stories were said about you that have no basis in anything except preconceived notions that at the end of the day don't hold water? Right? And the challenge with these often is this, is the stories are told with such authority that there's no room for hope or innovation or agility. This is how it is. You're born with this. This is how it is. This is your race. This is your gender. This is your orientation. This is whatever the case, down and down and down and down and down and down it goes. And none of them are true at the end of the day. The great poet Jalal Rumi says this, "Doing as others told me, I was blind. Coming when others called me, I was lost. Then I left everyone, myself as well. Then I found everyone, myself as well." In other words, as we are embarking on this great work of our life and coming to this idea that we are not going to achieve it by ourselves, because this idea of by myself is a preconceived notion that isn't true. If we simply look at the evidence of science, everything is interconnected to everything else, and nothing is separate from anything in this cosmos at all. So how can there be a me by myself? I'm joined. So maybe the first story that we have to look at is this idea that we are alone. And we are alone, we are separate, we are misunderstood because someone told us a story that really isn't true. One of the things that we understand in the teaching of the science of mind and spirit, but really it's more ancient than that, but it's worthy of knowing, is that we decide the rest of our life in every instant. Breathe that in. This moment right now, you are adjusting course for the rest of your life. And is it a story? Is it a story that's working for you? Because if it isn't, vote it out. We don't need it. I am continually going back to this idea that's in the Bhagavad Gita, and it's about faithfulness. And what is faithfulness? What is faith? Faith has nothing to do with a right belief. Being faithful has nothing to do with believing something or not believing something. Rather, as Søren Kierkegaard would suggest, it has more to do with a commitment to life. It's about living a commitment to who we are, being faithful. Adam Simmons, who's a scholar, he's actually the head of the Kierkegaard Society or something like that, but he says that he defines faith as this. Faith is risk with a direction. Faith is a risk with a direction. Because let's face it, said the son of a hunter, life is risky. When we get up in the morning and walk out the door, anything can happen. Anything can happen. And how do we adjust to that? And the decisions that we make in that moment are setting the trajectory for the rest of our life. Kind of like showing up here today is setting the direction for the rest of our life. And the minute after that, it will do the same thing. And the minute after that, it will do the same thing. But it really comes down to this: to live faithfully is to live committed to something very risky. And maybe that thing that helps us navigate that is to let go of a perceived idea of how things are and to trust our intuition, which may guide us to offer a different way of seeing how things are. Meister Eckhart, the 12th century mystic, says this. He says, "The eye through which I see God is the same eye which God sees me. My eye and God's eye are one eye, seeing one, knowing one, love. My eye and God's eye are the same eye. That the God who sees me is the same as me seeing God." What Ernest Holmes says is how we experience the divine is predicated on our experience. How we experience is how we perceive. How I experience the divine is predicated on how I perceive the divine. And here's the thing. How I perceive things is totally made up, either by us or someone else telling us. But if we don't like it, we can change it. What if we began to consider these tens of thousands of years predating how we have been conformed to look at the world and plug into these ancient voices that continue to sing through the trees and reveal themselves in the clouds, that are there when we see, the birds in the field or the fish in the sea, inviting us to see that there is this incredible experience of life that is there, and that we are part of that amazing thing called life, that we can dance and sing and feel and trust and embrace, and that we're not broken, we're not wrong, we don't not fit in. Those things just simply are stories that we have been told that no longer suit where we are going. And maybe it's time to reconsider them to something else. The beauty of a spiritual community is it becomes a safe place where we can be who we are, knowing we will be loved unconditionally. Which means all of us got to be playing the same game. All of us got to be willing to engage in that. And then something powerful begins to happen. We begin to step more fully into our authentic self. And as we step more fully into our authentic self, we become that instrument of the divine, which is powerful. St. Teresa of Avila says that we are the eyes, the ears, and the hands of God. That we are spirit in action here. That our faithfulness is living the commitment to be who we are. Our dharma is to do the thing that brings us joy and brings us life. And as little as it may seem, everything changes. Everything changes. So again, going back to the sacred scriptures of Tolkien, to quote the prophet Gandalf, he says this: "It is not our part to master all the tides of the world, but to do what is us for the succor of those years wherein we are set, uprooting the evil in the fields that we know, so that those who live after may have clean earth to till." That ours is to do what's ours to do, knowing it is creating a legacy for those of us, for those who follow us, to have a leg up. And maybe the leg up is not a story that limits or strips us of hope, but maybe the leg up that we live, that we leave, is that there is one life, innate in all things, and that nothing, including you, is separate from it. And that the truest thing, the absolute truest thing about each and every one of us in this room is that we are the beloved of a wise and loving presence that is continuing to create this very old, unfinished universe that has billions of years to go. And that our little part is setting the stage for those who follow to bring more goodness and more beauty and more truth upon the earth. And so it is. Dance.
You are too much, man.
Make a good team.
this moment, in this place, I remember that I am. Fear fall away from me. I remember that I am. There is only love. There is only love. Love that heals. Love that sets me free. There is only love. It's my way when I feel I've lost myself, when I feel I need to go inside myself. I close my eyes and I see there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets me free. There is only love. In this moment and in this place, I remember that I am. Letting fear and worry fall away from me, I open my eyes and I see there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets me free. There is only, oh, there is only love. There is only love. Oh, there is only love. Love that heals, love that sets me free. Oh, there is only love. Love that heals, oh, that is a love that sets me free. There is only, oh, there is only love. You shook me up with that one, guy.
Next. Oh, so Reverend Guy, what touches me is not just your brilliance, but your journey and how you're willing to so vulnerably share with us your evolution. And like Young said, you can only take someone as far as you've gone, so I feel lifted up and pulled to evolve. And thank you, James. Somehow it's just a beautiful compliment. The whole service seems to have this beautiful web of wholeness, how all the parts fit together. Yeah, I feel just really touched by both these people and the fact that we have come together. And that's really what this time here, conscious giving, is simply going within and finding where you are fed spiritually, right? And so I imagine that that's happening right now for all of us. So it's just from that place of knowing who we are in our connection together as a community, who we are in this whole fabric of the world that we give. So we are grateful for your gifts, and so it is.
So one thing I forgot to mention at the very beginning is that we are also doing at the end of the month, the last Sunday of October, we'll do our annual Day of the Dead celebration. And we have special music coming for that. We have Jamie and Enrique, one or both of them, so it'll be fun. Weather permitting, we might do it outside. He just said with no one else knowing that. But we'll just kind of see what works out. But we'll have a festival of some form or another to celebrate that. So, and then I want to, James, my brother, thank you so much for being here today. I'm just so grateful having you back. And James is one of those great spiritual troubadours. And his music is his livelihood. He is living his dream, and he has music for sale out in the Star Hall. And so if you've liked his music, and who didn't, please support his ministry by supporting him and by buying an album. That's what I'm trying to say. Go do that. Let's see, and I want to thank our sound people today, Jeff and Lee, fabulous. Our greeters today, I know that, let's see, who was with you, Karen and Larry? Oh, I know Larry was with you. It was Larry and Karen, the Larry and Karen show. So thank you guys for being there very much. And Kurt's got his team of merry pranksters in the kitchen, so I know that something good is happening there. And then, of course, our gift shop has got all kinds of really cool stuff. And so we've got Patty and we've got Noreen in the gift shop today. So do that. And then, I want to thank Andrea, because most of what she does behind the scenes. She is here during the week doing the things that happen, and it's a lot, and it's a thankless job. So thank you. And Mark, who is here making coffee every Sunday morning and making our grounds look beautiful. So thank you for that. And there's Sherry, who's also part of the, I want to say the Stitchin' Witches, but I won't say that. The three graces of the gift shop. The three graces, that's much better than the witches. Although I'm a little witchy. I think witches are fine. Again, in a linear world, they don't work so well. In a non-linear world, man, sign me up. So, and thank all of you for any way that you participate in our community. It's just so much fun with you being part of us. And again, I just want to remind you all that we have a board meeting next Sunday. So please plan on staying a little bit later. Just, if we're all informed, we all know what's going on, and we can all play harder. So, the prayer circle, yes. So three things. One is prayer. If your heart got touched today in any way, please do not leave without prayer. And there's 3 ways you can do that. Craig will be doing a prayer circle about 5 or 10 minutes after service in the Emerson room. You can go in there. It's a wonderful way to pray. The energy of that vibe is always really good. Second of all, you can find a prayer request. You can fill that out. The practitioners, we meet on Zoom once a week and we pray, or you can talk to one of the other practitioners and they'll be happy to do that. Also, if you would like more stimulation, I know that Irreverend Jim Jones has his Sunday morning class on Taoism that starts at 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock? You're here at 8:30, but the class starts at 9. So that's going on. So there's all kinds of ways to be engaged and what to do. And if you like gardening, talk to Mark. Man, he's got a big job on his hands keeping this place up. I'm sure he would love some company doing half the things that he does. And the meditation on Wednesdays at 1. That's right. Wednesdays at 1, Paul leads a meditation. It's a very intimate and powerful experience that's going on. So there are lots of ways to be fed here. Also, if you have a couple hours during the week and you want to volunteer in the office, no one would say no. So with all of that, being full, being grateful, being in this great community, let us just, again, repeat, or not even repeat, but just speak forth a benediction, a good word, recognizing that love and that presence and that divine that was there at the very beginning of all things is here today. That it is alluring us as we set the trajectory for the rest of our life. And so my prayer is that today and tomorrow and the day after that, that each and every one of us is surprised. And if not surprised, filled with amazement and wonder and awe. And may that be the gateway to insight, a knowing, and a restructuring of living faithfully, taking a risk with direction. And so we let it be, and so it is. Yeah, thank you.
Through a storm, hold your head up high and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm, there is a golden sky and the sweet silver song of the Lord. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, though your dreams may be tossed and so very low. Walk on, walk on with your hope in your heart, and you will never walk alone. You'll never walk At the end of the storm, there is a golden sky and the sweet silver song of the Lord. Walk on through the wind, walk on Just walk on. Walk on with your hope in your heart, and you will never walk alone. You'll never walk alone. You'll never ever walk alone.
Thank you.